Most people believe success belongs to people with incredible discipline. They think successful people simply wake up stronger, more motivated, and more determined every day. That couldn't be further from the truth. Willpower is temporary, it gets tired, it fades under stress, it disappears when life becomes difficult. If success depended only on willpower, almost nobody would succeed. The people who permanently change don't fight temptation every hour. They build lives where temptation has little power. That's the difference. You don't need stronger discipline. You need a smarter strategy, because every bad habit survives for one reason: it has become easier than the alternative. The moment you reverse that equation, the habit begins to die. Today, you'll learn exactly how. And once you understand these principles, you'll never look at habits the same way again. Most people believe that breaking a bad habit is all about having stronger willpower. They wake up full of determination, promising themselves that this time will be different. For a few hours, or maybe even a few days, they stay committed. Then life becomes stressful. Unexpected problems appear. Energy runs low, and suddenly they find themselves repeating the very habit they swore to leave behind. They blame themselves, calling themselves weak or lazy, when in reality they have been relying on the wrong tool. Willpower is like a battery. It drains with every decision you make throughout the day. The more pressure you face, the less energy you have left to resist temptation. That doesn't mean you're incapable of change. It simply means you're trying to win a battle with a weapon that was never designed to fight all day. Real transformation begins when you stop expecting yourself to feel motivated every moment and start creating systems that work even when you don't feel like trying. Successful people don't depend on constant self-control. They remove unnecessary temptations, simplify good choices, and make bad choices inconvenient. Instead of telling themselves, "I'll just resist," they ask, "How can I make this decision easier tomorrow?" That's the question that changes everything. Imagine trying to avoid junk food while your kitchen is full of snacks. Every time you walk by, your brain must fight another battle. Eventually, that battle is lost. But if those snacks never entered your home in the first place, there is no decision to make. The struggle disappears before it even begins. This is how lasting change happens. You don't become stronger by fighting temptation hundreds of times a day. You become wiser by removing the need to fight in the first place. Your goal should never be to build unlimited willpower because no one possesses it. Your goal is to build a life where good decisions become automatic and bad decisions become difficult. Once you understand that systems outperform motivation, you stop feeling guilty for past failures and start focusing on what truly matters. The people who succeed aren't those with the strongest willpower. They're the ones who create the smartest routines, and those routines quietly shape the person they become every single day. Every bad habit begins long before the action itself. It starts with a trigger, a small event that often goes unnoticed because it has become part of your daily routine. Most people focus all their attention on stopping the habit, but they rarely stop to ask what caused it in the first place. That's why they keep losing the same battle over and over again. A bad habit is not random. It follows a pattern. Something happens, your brain recognizes a familiar cue, and almost automatically you repeat the behavior. The trigger could be stress after work, boredom during a quiet afternoon, loneliness at night, anxiety before an important task, or even something as simple as picking up your phone after hearing a notification. Until you identify the real trigger, you'll continue fighting the wrong enemy. Imagine trying to remove weeds without pulling out the roots. They may disappear for a while, but they'll always grow back. Your habits work the same way. The action you see is only the surface. The trigger underneath is what keeps it alive. Begin paying attention to the moments before the habit happens. Ask yourself where you are, what time it is, who you're with, and most importantly, how you're feeling. You may discover that you don't eat unhealthy food because you're hungry, but because you're overwhelmed. You don't waste hours scrolling because you enjoy it, but because you're avoiding something uncomfortable. You don't procrastinate because you're lazy, but because you're afraid of failing. These discoveries are powerful because they reveal the real problem instead of the symptom. Once you know the trigger, you gain the ability to interrupt the pattern before it reaches the habit. You can step outside for fresh air when stress appears, call a friend when loneliness sets in, or begin a task for just 5 minutes when fear tells you to delay. Awareness creates choice, and choice creates freedom. Every lasting change begins with noticing what was once invisible. The moment you understand what activates your bad habit, you stop feeling controlled by it. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin responding intentionally. That simple shift transforms you from someone who feels trapped by old behaviors into someone who understands how change truly works, one conscious decision at a time. Most people try to break a bad habit by telling themselves they will simply say no the next time temptation appears. While that sounds logical, it places all the responsibility on self-control instead of strategy. A far more effective approach is to make the bad habit difficult to perform. Human beings naturally follow the path of least resistance. We choose what is fast, easy, and convenient, often without thinking. If a bad habit is always within reach, your brain will continue choosing it because it requires the least effort. The solution is not to become mentally stronger, but to make the wrong choice physically harder. Every extra step you add creates a moment for your mind to pause and reconsider. That brief pause is often enough to break the automatic cycle. If you spend too much time on social media, log out of every app after each use, delete the shortcuts from your home screen, or leave your phone in another room while working. If unhealthy snacks are your weakness, stop buying them instead of expecting yourself to ignore them every evening. If late night television keeps you awake, unplug the device before going to bed or place the remote somewhere inconvenient. These small changes may seem insignificant, but they force your brain to make a conscious decision instead of acting on autopilot. The more effort a bad habit requires, the less attractive it becomes. This is not about punishment. It is about creating enough friction to interrupt automatic behavior. At the same time, make your positive habits easier than ever. Keep a book on your desk, place a water bottle within reach, prepare your workout clothes the night before, or organize your workspace so getting started takes only a few seconds. Your environment should gently guide you toward the choices that improve your life. Success rarely depends on dramatic acts of discipline. It is usually the result of small, intentional obstacles placed in front of destructive behaviors and small, intentional shortcuts leading toward productive ones. When you stop relying on willpower and begin designing your surroundings wisely, you no longer fight the same exhausting battles every day. Instead, your environment starts working for you instead of against you. Over time, those tiny barriers weaken the old habit until it loses its influence, allowing healthier routines to become the natural and effortless choice. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to quit a bad habit is believing they can simply remove it from their lives and leave nothing in its place. The human mind doesn't like empty spaces. Every habit exists because it serves a purpose, whether that purpose is relieving stress, escaping boredom, avoiding uncomfortable emotions, or providing a quick sense of pleasure. If you take away the habit without replacing the need it was fulfilling, your brain will naturally search for something else to fill the gap. This is why so many people quit one unhealthy behavior only to develop another. Lasting change happens when you replace the old habit with a healthier alternative that satisfies the same emotional need. Instead of reaching for your phone whenever you feel bored, pick up a book, listen to an inspiring podcast, or take a short walk. Instead of eating junk food when you're stressed, drink a glass of water, practice deep breathing, or spend a few minutes stretching your body. Instead of procrastinating when a task feels overwhelming, commit to working for just 5 minutes. The replacement doesn't have to be perfect. It simply has to guide you in a better direction. At first, the new habit may not feel as rewarding because your brain is used to the instant gratification of the old behavior. That's completely normal. Every worthwhile habit feels less exciting in the beginning because it is building something real instead of providing a temporary escape. With repetition, your brain starts creating new connections, and what once felt difficult gradually becomes natural. The goal is not to fight your mind, but to teach it a healthier response. Think of your habits like paths through a forest. The old path is wide because you've walked it thousands of times. The new path is barely visible because you've only taken a few steps. Every time you choose the healthier replacement, you strengthen the new path while allowing the old one to slowly disappear. This process requires patience, not perfection. Some days you'll make the right choice, and other days you'll slip back into old patterns. Don't let one mistake convince you that you've failed. Every positive choice is another step toward becoming the person you want to be. The habit you replace today becomes the lifestyle you live tomorrow, proving that real freedom comes not from removing bad behaviors alone, but from filling your life with better ones that make the old habits unnecessary. Most people believe that their habits are the result of their personality, but in reality, their environment influences far more of their daily behavior than they realize. Every room you enter, every object you see, and every person you spend time with quietly shapes the choices you make. If your surroundings constantly encourage distraction, unhealthy eating, procrastination, or negative thinking, it becomes incredibly difficult to create lasting change. That's why one of the most powerful ways to destroy a bad habit is not by changing yourself first, but by changing the environment around you. Your surroundings should make good decisions feel natural and bad decisions feel inconvenient. When your environment supports your goals, you no longer have to rely on endless self-control. Instead, your daily actions begin to flow in the right direction almost automatically. Look around your home, your workspace, and even your digital environment. Ask yourself whether these places are helping you become the person you want to be or quietly pulling you back into old patterns. If your phone is always within reach, distractions will always be close. If unhealthy food fills your kitchen, poor eating habits will continue to tempt you. If your desk is cluttered, your mind will often feel just as scattered. Small changes in your surroundings can create remarkable changes in your behavior. Keep healthy snacks where they are easy to see. Place a book beside your bed instead of your phone. Organize your workspace so it invites focus, and remove anything that encourages the habit you are trying to leave behind. Your environment should constantly remind you of your goals rather than your excuses. The people around you also become part of your environment. Spend enough time with individuals who make excuses, complain about life, or settle for less, and those attitudes can slowly become your own. On the other hand, surrounding yourself with people who value growth, discipline, and positivity raises your own standards without you even noticing. Human beings naturally adapt to what is normal around them. Make sure your definition of normal supports the future you want. Remember, lasting change is rarely the result of one powerful decision. It is usually the outcome of hundreds of small decisions made easier by a well-designed environment. When your surroundings begin working in your favor instead of against you, breaking a bad habit no longer feels like a daily struggle. It becomes the natural result of living in a space that constantly encourages your best self to appear. One of the most powerful ways to destroy a bad habit is to stop focusing only on what you do and start focusing on who you believe you are. Every action you take is connected to your identity. If you constantly tell yourself, I have no self-control, I'm always lazy, or I'll never change, your mind begins searching for evidence to prove those statements true. Before long, your behavior starts matching the story you've been telling yourself. That is why lasting transformation begins with changing your identity, not just your actions. Instead of saying, I'm trying to quit smoking, begin thinking, I'm someone who values a healthy body. Instead of saying, I'm trying to stop procrastinating, tell yourself, I'm a person who finishes what I start. These may sound like small changes in wording, but they create a completely different mindset. Your brain naturally wants your actions to stay consistent with the person you believe yourself to be. Every positive decision becomes a vote for your new identity, and every repeated vote strengthens it. You do not become a disciplined person overnight. You become disciplined by collecting small moments that prove discipline is now part of who you are. The same principle applies to confidence, patience, focus, and resilience. You build these qualities one choice at a time. This also means you should stop allowing past mistakes to define your future. Just because you've struggled with a habit for years does not mean it has to become your permanent identity. Your past explains where you've been, but it does not decide where you're going. Every new day gives you another opportunity to act like the person you want to become. At first, it may feel uncomfortable because your old identity will try to pull you back toward familiar behaviors. That's normal. Growth often feels unfamiliar before it feels natural. Keep reminding yourself that every small victory matters. Choosing to read instead of endlessly scrolling, waking up when your alarm rings, or completing one important task instead of avoiding it are not just isolated actions. They are evidence that a new version of you is being created. Over time, these small victories accumulate until your new identity becomes stronger than the old one. Eventually, the bad habit no longer fits the person you've become. You don't avoid it because you're forcing yourself to. You avoid it because it simply isn't part of your character anymore. And that is when real lasting freedom begins. Many people believe that changing their lives requires one massive breakthrough, a dramatic decision, or a perfect moment when everything suddenly falls into place. They wait for Monday, the first day of a new month, or the beginning of a new year, hoping that a fresh start will give them the motivation they have been missing. The truth is that lasting transformation rarely comes from one extraordinary action. It is built through small daily wins that seem almost too insignificant to matter. These tiny victories may not impress anyone at first, but over time they create the foundation for remarkable change. Every time you choose the better option, no matter how small, you are strengthening the habits that shape your future. Making your bed in the morning, drinking a glass of water instead of a sugary drink, reading just a few pages of a good book, completing 5 minutes of focused work, or taking a short walk instead of sitting on the couch may seem like ordinary actions. Yet each one sends a powerful message to your mind that you are capable of keeping promises to yourself. Confidence is not built by thinking differently. It is built by repeatedly proving to yourself that you can follow through on your intentions. Small wins also create momentum. Once you complete one positive action, your brain becomes more willing to take another. One productive choice often leads to another, and before long, an ordinary day becomes a successful one because of the simple decisions you made along the way. This is how consistency quietly replaces motivation. You no longer depend on feeling inspired because your routine carries you forward. There will be days when you don't feel energetic, excited, or confident. On those days, remember that progress is measured by showing up, not by being perfect. Even the smallest step forward is still movement in the right direction. Never underestimate the power of repeating simple actions every day. A tiny improvement made consistently is far more valuable than a huge effort made only once. The people who achieve lasting success are not always the most talented or the most motivated. They are the ones who keep collecting small victories long after others have given up. Over weeks, months, and years, those daily wins compound into extraordinary results. The habits that once felt impossible become automatic, and the life you once dreamed about becomes the life you quietly built, one small decision, one ordinary day, and one consistent victory at a time. Breaking a bad habit is not only about stopping a negative behavior, it is about creating a future where that behavior no longer belongs. Many people spend so much time trying to avoid their old habits that they forget to build a life worth moving toward. When your future is unclear, your mind naturally returns to what is familiar, even if it is harmful. That is why the final step in lasting transformation is to create a vision so meaningful and a routine so strong that your old habits no longer fit into the person you are becoming. Every decision you make should move you one step closer to the life you want to live. Ask yourself what kind of future you want to wake up to 1 year from now. Picture the healthier body, the calmer mind, the stronger relationships, the successful career, or the financial freedom you hope to achieve. Then begin building daily routines that support that vision. Your future is not created by occasional moments of inspiration. It is shaped by the ordinary choices you make when no one is watching. A clear purpose gives those choices direction. When you know why you want to change, saying no to old habits becomes much easier because you are saying yes to something far greater. Fill your schedule with meaningful activities that leave less room for destructive behaviors. Learn new skills, exercise regularly, spend time with people who inspire you, read books that challenge your thinking, and invest your time in goals that excite you. A life filled with purpose leaves little space for habits that steal your energy and your potential. There will still be moments when temptation appears, but those moments lose their power when your commitment to the future becomes stronger than your attachment to the past. Remember that every habit is casting a vote for the life you will eventually live. The choices you repeat today become the reality you experience tomorrow. Don't measure success only by what you stop doing. Measure it by what you are building instead. Every healthy routine you establish becomes another brick in the foundation of your future. Over time, the person you are becoming will naturally reject the behaviors that once controlled you because they no longer align with your goals, your values, or your identity. One day you will look back and realize that the habit you fought so hard to eliminate simply disappeared, not because you relied on endless willpower, but because you became someone whose future was too valuable to sacrifice for temporary comfort.